Welcome to the Outdoor Adventure Lifestyle Podcast, where we dive into inspiring stories, thrilling adventures, and expert insights from leaders and legends across the outdoor adventure community. Whether you're an avid hiker, passionate camper, or adventure traveler, each episode brings you up close and personal with guests who've lived it, explored it, and made it their mission to share their experiences with you. Let's get after it. Welcome to another episode of the Outdoor Adventure Lifestyle Podcast, everyone. Today I'm joined by Hannah Tranter, Project Manager for the Community Rhino Conservation Initiative and a wide variety of other community and conservation programs. Hannah brings many years of experience in the environmental sciences, sustainability, and education fields to the table. Hey, Hannah, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
It's going to be a fun conversation. I love what you guys are doing. Safaris, I've been on one. It's super fun. I encourage everybody to go if you get a chance. But let's start with how you got connected to the ATTA and the ATCF. How'd that come about?
So the ATTA and ATCF, they're both big platforms for travel industry partners. And because we have tourism in our area and because our conservation and community development projects are very reliant on tourism, that's how we're connected with them. We've received, I think it's 3 grants so far from the ATCF, the Adventure Travelers Conservation Fund, and we're in the running for a 4th one at the moment.
Nice, good
which
luck.
is exciting. So yeah, thank you. So they've been really good in helping us financially, but also just in helping us share our stories and get traction. Because they're so well connected, it's a great way for us to get a bit of credibility as well. Mm-hmm. So that's how we've worked with them. They're very big in the responsible tourism world. Absolutely, and what we do in our part of the world is very much that. So it's just a logical partnership, really.
Yeah, they're great people. What do you enjoy most working with them? Obviously, the people, they're just fantastic. It's fun to work with them.
The people, and I think the aligned kind of vision. So we work very much on the ground, and we're focused on our little part of the world, and it's a bit of a bubble. And sometimes you don't really know what else is going on, and it's really nice to be able to see the wider picture and kind of see all these pieces of a puzzle. Mm-hmm. And there's still a lot of pieces missing, but you can kind of start to see the bigger picture and see that there's actually lots of really good stuff going on around the world.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, and ability to learn from each other and share and kind of encourage each other, which is also important. So that's one of probably the most useful things that we get from working with them.
It's nice to know that you're not the only one doing this in the world.
Exactly. And some of the challenges are quite similar as well, which is always good.
Right. They probably talked to a couple of people that have done that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And what first sparked your passion for conservation and led you to Africa and Envelo Safari Lodges?
So I think just from when I was a child, I've always really loved animals. It's as simple as that. Loved animals, loved nature. Not really in the intellectual sense. I'm not good with Latin names of trees and things like that. But just the appreciation of kind of how raw, unfiltered, almost simple nature is. Even though it's very intricate and complicated, there's that kind of just that purity to it. And I think I've just always appreciated it. So I eventually studied environmental sciences. I had done a big piece of work when I was in high school for my last year on elephants and humans in Africa and the kind of the conflicts. And I love elephants. A lot of people love elephants. But it was kind of looking at the realities of what those elephants represent to different people. Different lifestyles. And then, studied environmental sciences. I actually went to Zimbabwe for the first time in 2011 with my mom.
Cool.
We went to volunteer in a private game park.
Oh, wow, fun.
Yeah, and they actually did a lot of white rhino and black rhino breeding. So that was my introduction to Zimbabwe. I'd lived in Africa as a child. But I'd lived in a big town and, I'd seen the kind of human side of it. But I had never seen the wild sides of different African countries. I'd never seen the wilderness. So I think it always kind of intrigued me a little bit. And I, years later, after doing lots of different jobs and living in different places, I met a Zimbabwean man. Mm-hmm. And he was in the British military. And he, in 2018, he was invited to go and basically work with Mvelo safari lodgers in the southern Wangi area to recruit some local villagers to be anti-poaching scouts.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
So they were starting up an anti-poaching unit, and Mvelo had been encouraged to hire someone with British military background for the standards, for the reputation.
Yeah, and maybe some of the techniques, he might have had some things that he knew how to do that we all don't know how to do.
Exactly. So
sneak around.
Yeah, he's good at that. So yeah, in terms of he was Zimbabwean with British military background, so he was a perfect fit, and he came out in 2018, and then a few months later we got invited to move back as a couple and start up this Community Rhino project.
Wow, how
so
cool
we packed up our lives from the UK and moved to Zimbabwe, and he was delighted because he's born and bred Zimbabwean, so he was very happy to go home and build something very worthwhile.
Right. That's got to be very rewarding and satisfying, what you're doing, your work, right? When you see what happens and the results, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's it tests your patience.
I can imagine.
It doesn't. Yeah, things take a bit of time. I feel like time goes a bit differently in the bush. Oh, yeah. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of rewards. There's a resilience to Zimbabweans as well. So they've got this this ability to just kind of make a plan and just get on with things and just overcome obstacles that wasn't necessarily part of my
they probably the way they lived and where they lived, they probably have to be very adaptable and creative to solve problems. And interesting.
So it seemed like a bit overwhelming at first, but we've done something that's we've built something that's been very successful so far.
That's very cool. And can you explain what the Community Rhino Conservation Initiative is and what makes it different from some of the other rhino protection programs?
So the main thing that differentiates it is the fact that it's on community land. So it's on village land. It's not a national park. It's not a private reserve. Yeah.
Gotcha.
It's just south of a very big national park, Wangi National Park, Zimbabwe's largest national park. It's very, very famous, lots of tourism, but we're actually just adjacent to the park. Okay. So the southern boundary of that park is probably about 120 kilometer stretch. And there's people living all along that boundary. Wow. Thousands and thousands of people.
Wow.
And the main problem, and this might be a bit different to parks in other countries, is that southern boundary is not a hard boundary. So there's a cable fence that's got 4 cables, 4 strands of cables that was put in by the veterinary department.
So there is a fence around it.
There is a fence, but it was never meant to stop elephants or lions or hyenas or cheetah.
So the animals were supposed to be able to come and go.
Yeah, the only animals it was meant to stop were the buffalo, so that they wouldn't mix with the local cows and spread diseases. But elephants and predators have always been able to come and go. So those people living along that southern boundary are very used to living with wildlife. And like is often the case, they're very used to seeing the burdens of wildlife. So it's a very difficult landscape. It's the people living there, they're very, very vulnerable. There's no jobs. There's no communication networks. There's no roads. There's very few social services. It's thick Kalahari sand, so it's very hard to grow food.
Wow.
Rainfall is super erratic. It's again incredibly difficult to grow food. So people are basically subsistence farmers. They might, people they don't have bank accounts. They hold their wealth in cows and cattle.
Right. And is there any money currency that they have? None. It's all in trade.
They might have a few rand and a few US dollars, but it's very precarious livelihoods. And so when elephants come in and raid their crops that they've put so much energy into growing, or a lion comes in and kills a cow, it's a huge deal. And so naturally, those communities have a very negative attitude towards wildlife. That's very normal, and it's been like that for decades.
Eons, I'll bet.
Yeah, and it's that kind of. It's the same problem with all the kind of human wildlife conflict issues. It's whose perspective you're looking from. If you're looking from a tourist, then obviously a herd of lion is amazing. If you're looking from the local villager, that's different. So
got to run them off. They got to do something bad.
Exactly.
Wow,
so,
interesting.
Yeah. So one of the big aims of this Community Rhino Conservation Initiative has always been to help alleviate those conflicts between people and wildlife by creating a buffer zone along that southern boundary of the park. And the idea is that you create an electric buffer zone, which means that you can't have elephants crossing over into villages and lions and hyenas going and killing domestic livestock. And then you put rhino in those buffer zones and you attract more tourists, you attract more money, you have to hire scouts, so you're creating jobs. And then there's a whole bunch of other benefits that come out of that. So the initiative invites local communities to allocate some of their very precious grazing land that's adjacent to the national park to rhino conservation. And in exchange, they get jobs, they get direct revenue, because every time a tourist comes to see those rhinos, they pay a fee and that money goes to the villages.
Gotcha.
And they get protection from wildlife. So it's kind of trying to tackle multiple issues at a landscape level. And how would you say kind of at the heart?
And how would you say it's working? Pretty successful?
Yeah, really successful. The thing that I always look at is, conservation can be seen on a very long-term scale. But on a short-term scale, we've seen so many positive impacts. I mean, so just one example, the money that the communities have earned from tourists going to view these rhinos, they've actually used it on lots of different projects. They've used it on school furniture. They've used it on water wells. They've used it for a clinic. So we built a clinic in 2017. We started building a clinic in 2017 in one of the local villages. And it took so long to build because clinics are expensive to build. And when that
building resources are probably hard to get down there too, right?
Yeah, and getting them there, getting them to site. And then it was COVID. But we managed to get the clinic kind of ready. Everything was there: water, power, fencing, staff cottage, main wing, toilet, showers, and incinerators, everything. But then to maintain that clinic operational costs a lot of money. And so the community said, well, rather than relying on philanthropy to do that, we'll use funds from the rhino that we get every month from people coming and spending time with these rhinos, from tourists, to actually keep that clinic operational. So that alone, that clinic, since it's been open from September 2022, has treated over 5,000 patients.
Wow.
So just that in itself has been a huge success.
That's huge. That's amazing. Yeah. And are the locals happy with it too? I mean, they got to be stoked.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. I mean, they're championing the project. So if they're not happy, there is no project.
Right.
We're just helping them see the potential benefits, understand the potential benefits. But it's up to them to drive it. So all the scouts that protect the rhinos, because white rhinos are incredibly vulnerable to poaching. They're all from the local communities. And, it's in their best interest to keep their jobs. Exactly. And most of them were poachers before because they had no choice but to go and, to go into the park and kill an impala to feed their families. But now they've got jobs and they're fed every month and they don't need to do that anymore. So, it's the communities are they're the ones championing this project, and they're definitely as happy as they can be, I guess.
That's
otherwise
pretty, it sounds like they wouldn't be working
doing
for everybody. Exactly. Yeah, they're still there. Yeah. Hey friends, quick break here. If you're a destination marketing leader and your region is packed with amazing outdoor adventures, I want to hear from you. Let's get you on the Outdoor Adventure Lifestyle Podcast to share those stories with our audience. Hit me up at rick@ricksays.com and I'll send you all the deets. Let's inspire more folks to explore the wild side of your destination. But now, let's get back to the show. So what are some of the toughest realities you face with rhino poaching? Because it's still got to be a thing, right? I mean,
It's a huge thing. Yeah. Massive thing. I don't know if people really realize, but it's still a huge issue. So Wangi National Park had rhinos until the early 1900s, and they were all poached out.
Wow.
And then the southern white rhino actually almost went extinct. There was a very small population of maybe 40, 50 animals left in the whole world.
Wow.
And they were in one area in South Africa. And conservationists put lots of resources into growing that population back up. And then they were able to populate parts of southern Africa with the white rhino, from which the white rhino had been poached. So they resent white rhinos to Wangi in the 60s, 70s. They sent probably about 40 animals back to Wangi National Park.
And sorry, where'd they come from?
From South Africa, from this one small population, yeah.
Okay.
But the problem is that the national park, like lots of places, it just wasn't equipped to protect these rhinos. And within a few decades, they were all poached out again.
Wow.
And it's a huge effort moving these large animals across countries, and and a lot of emotion.
Probably making sure they adapt and thrive, right? Because it's a totally different environment for them. I mean, similar, but it's not home.
It's not home, and you put in all this effort. They're doing well, they're thriving, and then they all get poached. And that's the reality. So. When we first started looking at this project, one of the main things was, okay, you want to put rhino on community land. How are you going to protect these animals?
Because and the people.
And the people. But how
from each other.
How are you going to make sure these rhinos don't get poached? Right. Because these rhinos are carrying. Their horns are, horns
They're
on
huge.
The black market. Yeah, and they go for a lot of money.
Right, valuable, right.
So it just means that they're a big target for poachers.
And how did you handle? Did you have a team of safari rangers, or how did that happen? Who kept an eye on that, and who arrested the poachers?
So are you talking about now or back in?
No, when it started. Yeah, when it started, because there had to be. I'm sure now you've got the system's all dialed in, but when you started, it was a way of life for some people that you were taking away because that's what they did. But at the same time, if you didn't take it away, the rhinos would go away. So how did that had to be a wild period.
Yeah. So the main thing that we have in Southern Wangi is subsistence poaching. So it's mainly poaching for meat.
Okay.
And that's kind of the sad thing is that these people living in this area, they don't have much, and then they might have wild animals coming and taking the little they have.
Right.
So in return, they go into the park because they can also easily cross the fence, and kill animals to feed their families. And it's kind of part of the culture there. Kids grow up with their fathers and brothers poaching. So part of it is not necessarily the organized rhino horn poaching. They wouldn't kill a rhino for meat. They would do it for the horn. And for that, you would need to have, a supply chain. So it's unlikely that the villagers would ever think of going and poaching a rhino themselves. They would have to have some sort of bigger organization behind them, bigger gangs, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It does, really. It sounds like it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So the very first thing we did before we even got rhinos was recruit scouts from the local villages, young men, some older men, basically people who'd never had jobs before. They really had, never earned any money in their lives, but they wanted a job. A lot of them didn't get the job. We had probably about 800 people show up
for 5 jobs.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
Less.
But eventually we had our first group of scouts, and then, from that was 2018, and we got our first rhinos in 2022. So it wasn't immediate. There was a lot of work, a lot of training had to be done. A lot of it was very basic, first aid, communications, how to shoot, physical training. No one there trains physically for fun.
Right.
Those kind of things, dressing, discipline, hierarchy, all that sort of stuff. So a lot of the training was very basic, and it took them a while for them to be ready to actually be able to protect rhino and have that as their main job.
Interesting. And you guys not only focus on wildlife, you support schools, clinics, water projects, all kinds of things. How do all those things work? Now, I'm sure now they're a lot more mainstream than they were when you started, but there's still, you have to hire people to support those and maintain them, I would imagine.
Yeah, and so the area that we work in is a bit of a forgotten part of Zimbabwe. It's very tough for the local people. Support, government level support is very scarce. So you have very under-resourced schools, you have very under-resourced clinics that basically, have very, very little. So we've done a lot in the area just in terms of addressing people's basic needs. So drilling water wells, helping with schools, helping with clinics, helping feed people. And that's all part of the kind of landscape level community-based conservation. You can't expect people not to poach if they don't have any food.
Right. And if that was the way they got food before, you're going to have to change the whole dynamic. Otherwise,
exactly.
Yeah, and that's going to be a huge job. Yeah.
Huge job. So it's about giving people alternative livelihoods, giving them opportunities. Again, how can you expect people to make a life for themselves if there are no employment opportunities? So we've done a lot of,
or if they're not used to working, right? You give them a job and they go to this job and you train them for a week, and then all of a sudden they say, I'm not going today.
Yeah.
And they're going to come back, right?
That's true. That's true. But Envelo has always hired locally. That's one of the most important things it's always done. So Envelo has been operating for a couple decades in this area. And because they've been employing locally, for example, the safari guides, they're all from these local villages.
So they have a reputation. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. And it just means that people realize that, there's, if you do well at school and if you want to, there is a good job waiting for you. So, and that's really important. So we do all these different projects around community development, and some of them seem a bit random because you're like, okay, you're establishing irrigated food gardens. What's that got to do with rhino?
Yeah.
But actually it's all got to do with conservation, because you can't expect villagers to protect rhino if they're not getting benefits.
Right.
And if they don't have land to feed themselves on. So it's...
You had to take all that stuff that they were going to do out in the safari, in the wilderness, so to speak, and bring it to their backyard.
Yeah.
Wow. What a job. What a task. And convince them that it's going to work.
Make them a part of it.
And make them a part of it.
Convince them. Yeah, convince them it's going to work.
Them. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
if you
is
water this long enough, it's going to grow and you're going to get food.
Yeah.
Trust me. Right. Exactly. I'm going out there. See you later.
Yeah. Wow. Which is partly why it's taken so long, because you can't expect people to do something that doesn't really make sense to them until they can see it happening somewhere else and actually think, oh yeah, no, we do want to be a part of this. So the project has been done in phases. So we initially got about 170 hectares for rhino. Then it became about 1,200 hectares. Now we've just been allocated more land by the communities because they're obviously seeing the benefits results, and they're like, okay, yeah, no, we really want to be a part of this. But that takes time. That's, it can be generational in some cases.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I'm sure people fought it, right? They didn't believe in it. They didn't trust it. Wow, what a huge project. Good on you guys. That's amazing. And what's one thing most people misunderstand about rhino conservation? Something you seem to have to talk about over and over and over and over. Something they don't get. Is there something?
Well, I think with our project specifically, I think people find it... So we only have 4 male rhinos at the moment because, again, we're building our credibility. Hopefully next year we're going to bring in our first females with calves and then start having a viable population. So far,
okay, so it's still pretty
4
new.
Male rhinos. It's not... people question that. But there is method to the madness in terms of making sure it's done sustainably. It has to be done in a phased way. It has to be done in line with what the communities want. We can't jump ahead.
Yep.
We have to have the funding to follow through.
Yep.
And I think people sometimes don't understand. So you've got four rhinos, and we've got 38 scouts protecting 4 rhinos.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got another 23 in training, including 3 women. That's a lot of people protecting 4 rhinos, but that's what it takes.
Yeah, but I was just going to say that's probably what it takes, because there's so, they have this marketability to things that we don't want them to be marketable for anymore. We don't want them to do we don't want people to kill them to do this. We're changing the whole dynamic. That's a whole nother animal.
Yeah.
Process.
And I think the rhino, they are a keystone species, and they're very important for their habitat.
Mm-hmm.
But we're kind of using the rhino as a hook to be able to create lots of jobs, to be able to attract more tourists, to be able to get more money to help more people in the communities. Mm-hmm. So they're kind of more of a catalyst. And it's not just about the rhino, it's about the whole landscape.
Sure.
And it's about the people in that landscape as well.
Mm-hmm. The rhinos can save everybody's lives.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not just about the 4 rhinos we have. It's about
that's the whole infrastructure. Yeah, that makes total sense. Yeah. Good on you guys. Yeah. Let's shift gears a little bit. Is there a favorite piece of outdoor gear that you use either daily or when you go out on an adventure?
So where we are, you definitely need some good shoes. We have a lot of very thorny acacia trees. Mm-hmm. And so you need some very sturdy boots. There's nothing specific. I would say, again, where we are, you need a good water bottle that keeps your water very cold, because it gets very, very hot. A good hat as well, because when it's bright, it's very bright, and we're
big old sun
very, very sandy area, so everything just reflects.
Oh, geez.
But yeah, good binoculars, a good camera. If you're into photography, there's always good photography to be done, whether it's birds or insects.
Oh man, I'd love to come down there and shoot. Wow.
Yeah, no, it's some really amazing sunsets, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, if you're big in photography, a good camera is good.
That's good. Yeah. Is there anything any tool related gear that, like a big knife or something, that you take with you every day, or you don't have to?
I have like a little knife, little foldable knife.
Gotcha. So you don't need something to cut bush or anything when you're out there.
I don't particularly. The scouts have a lot more, and they obviously have guns as well. For them, that's quite important. Not so important for me. But definitely knives. In your car, you'll have an axe to cut trees that might have fallen over, and you need to go, pass through them.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me personally, I'm not that exciting.
You don't have to do all that stuff. That's all right. That's good. Do you have a favorite book? Do you read a lot?
I do. I don't know if my favorite book is really relevant for this podcast.
Doesn't matter.
I'm trying to think.
I ask it because I read a lot, and I get my book ideas from everybody. I ask this question too.
There's a book I reread recently. It was one of Jane Goodall's books. And when I was in high school, I think I did some sort of environmental competition and I won, and she sent me this autographed book.
Wow, cool.
Which was and I look back now and I'm like, wow, that was, very cool. And now, it was about her time in Tanzania and working with chimpanzees and obviously a fascinating read.
Awesome. Cool.
I'll let you know if I think of any.
Yeah, when you think of it, when you think of the name, or if you see the name on your shelves.
It was I think it was Through a Window. That's the one she autographed. It was the sequel.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll look that up. So. Cool. Yeah. We'll put that in the show notes. Awesome. And for listeners who feel inspired, what's the best way they can support CRCI and similar community-driven efforts? Do you guys have an outreach program, or?
So the best way for people to support our Community Rhino program is actually for them to come and visit and see it for themselves. Because we're
cool.
Because we're so dependent on tourists and tourism funding. And although tourism provides a huge base for philanthropy as well. So people come, have a great adventure with the rhinos, get really personal. We've have a really intimate experience with the rhinos. but also know that they're contributing to a huge conservation and community development program. So that's the best way people can help. And then share a story if they want to engage, if they want to donate, if they want to have podcasts, whatever it might be.
It'd be fun to do a podcast out there in the field.
Yeah, with the rhinos
take
behind.
A couple
yeah,
of you guys,
definitely.
a couple of you folks out there and ask questions.
Yeah,
that'd be amazing.
Yeah, it's a big program, so you could definitely come and do a few episodes.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, exactly. A whole series.
Yeah.
We'll have to figure that out. We need to find a sponsor. That's what we need.
Yeah, a sponsor and a good time to come and have some proper time to take it all in. But that's the thing. We do have the ability for people to come and see it firsthand. So it's, people feel a bit closer to what they're contributing to. And that
amazing.
Makes a big difference.
It does. It's amazing. We went on a safari. I climbed Kilimanjaro a few years ago, and we went on safari, I think, afterwards. And it was just amazing to just be out there in the bush and see the animals. And we were sitting one time. They would hardly let us get out of the Jeep because there were lions around, obviously. And they always liked around sundown. Maybe you guys do the same thing. They wanted to take us out for a sundowner, evening cocktail. And so we're sitting backed up against this really tall cliff. And, we're sitting there having our cocktails, and they're sitting on the hood of the Jeeps. And all of a sudden, one of the guys looks up at the top of the cliff, and sitting over the top of the cliff with their paws hanging over the edge were like 3 lions. And he says, I think we better get out of here, guys, because they had found us and they were sizing us up,
Sizing up your cocktails.
Exactly. I think they were sizing up us. They were going to leave the cocktails alone. But it was just amazing to be in that environment where you're part of the food chain, right? It just gives you a whole new perspective on life. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. You're so small. And also it's the wilderness. So you don't know when there's going to be a lion peering over you.
And it's true wilderness. I mean, that's not like wilderness here in the backcountry of California. There are animals that will eat you.
Yeah. Yep. And there's snakes that'll hurt you, and spiders.
All kinds of things. Yeah. It was amazing. Yeah, I encourage anybody to go if they get a chance. And then when you're not working on these incredible projects, what's your favorite thing to do to connect with nature yourself? Do you get out and walk a lot, or?
So obviously where I live in the bush, the proper bush, so that the rhinos will come and stand outside my kitchen window.
Cool.
So it's, it's amazing. It is amazing. I do love watching wildlife, and I love going on game drives and seeing big animals and things like that. But I do also love connecting a bit more personally. I love my cat. Yeah. And one of my favorite things is taking our anti-poaching dogs out for a walk. So we've got 3 anti-poaching dogs that are trained to track, to bite, to detect. And I just take them out for a walk. It makes me feel safer because there's obviously lions and elephants and buffalo around. But it's also a great way to, to just get out and see stuff. And it's amazing because, you think, the dogs are going to freak out if they see an elephant, or they're going to freak out if they see a buffalo, or if we bump into the rhinos, but they don't. They kind of understand that, they just have this mutual understanding. Yeah.
Interesting.
So it's, that's
and how many dogs like that do you have?
We've got 3. So we've got 2 Belgian Malinois and 1 mountain hound.
Huh.
They're very.
And are those native dog breeds to where you are, or they're?
So one of them came from Namibia, and the other 2 came from South Africa. But they're basically, it's like your police dog. They're trained. Gotcha. They're working dogs. Yeah. But they love people, they love company, and they love walking. Cool. So that works for me. Yeah.
Yeah. That's great. What a great thing to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds fun. And if listeners would like to follow up with you, what's the best way to reach out?
So we've got a website, www.wangicommunityrhino.com. So that's probably the best way you can find out more. We've got all our social media goes through Imvelo Safari Lodges. So they've got Instagram, I think it's Imvelo Safari Lodges Zim. Okay. So we post about the rhinos and about all our other community development projects and conservation projects. But that's probably probably the best ways. Yeah.
Well, we'll link to all that stuff in the show notes.
Sorry?
I said we'll link to all that stuff in the show notes so people can follow you guys. And
perfect.
Remember, don't hang up. And we'll put some other good stuff in the show notes. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you so much.
I look forward to coming down there and checking it out. That safari I went on after climbing Killy was one of the greatest things I've ever done. Great photos, great. Yeah, just being what you're walking in and seeing is just fantastic because we don't have that in North America anymore. It's all gone, right? And it's unique because the animals are unique. And then the places that we got to stay were fantastic. The people guides and things were fantastic. So if you ever get a chance to go on safari, go is what I say.
Definitely. And come to Zimbabwe.
Yeah, come to Zimbabwe. There you go. Yeah. Well, awesome. It's been great. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of the Outdoor Adventure Lifestyle Podcast. Be sure to visit our website, ricksays.com, where you'll find show notes and links to everything we talked about and more. And while you're at it, if you found value in this show, give us a rating on Apple Podcast or spread the word and tell a friend. That would really help us out too. Be sure to tune in every week, and thanks again for listening to the Outdoor Adventure Lifestyle Podcast.